Hello out there, and in front of you today is something completely different for this channel, a brand of knife that I've never had before, something I never had that much attraction to, but one that I was always interested in because there's so much hype surrounding it. And of course, what I'm talking about is a GEC knife, Great Eastern Cutlery. They make a lot of really nice traditional slip joint knives, and the one that's in front of you is only going to be in my hands for a day or so because I have to get it to its real owner. So let's just talk about it while we have it and just briefly go over some of the details and my first impression of it. And this one here is going to be the Huckleberry Boys knife. It is number 152118 in Gabon ebony wood. And I came into this knife because basically a buddy of mine wanted to pick this up without having to spend any more money and put any more into the addiction. And I completely understand that. So what he did was he sent me a knife in trade, and I purchased this one for him and am sending it along. And because of that, I'm getting the really great opportunity to actually handle it before I do. And yeah, I know probably some of you are thinking, how are you doing that with dirty hands? Don't worry, that's just staining. I've washed my hands thoroughly. I will not get anything on this knife. But yeah, so I heard a lot of hype about this knife, especially when the Proper came out, because when the Proper came out, a lot of people were saying, oh, well, it's not nearly as nice as a GEC, and I just thought that was just a lot of talk and people just being haters on Benchmade. But man, the moment that I got this knife out and got it in my hand, I understood. This is just a beautiful, beautiful knife. And again, take my word for what it is, because I'm not a slip joint guy. I don't have a lot of background when it comes to them, but I know what I like when I see it and get it in hand, and I like this knife. And at the $65 to $85 price point, depending on where you find this one, man, it's just a beautiful piece. Let me bring in the Proper and just show you a comparison. Size comparison, you know, it's not really all about specs, but just the look of the two knives next to each other. The GEC just has something. It has some kind of X factor that I can't put my finger on, and I sort of liken it to, you know, eating at like a really fancy restaurant and knowing that you're eating something that is absolutely like top notch and second to none, but all you can really understand, because your palate isn't that refined, all you can understand is that it's delicious, you know. And that's how I feel about this knife. I don't get it. I don't understand exactly why I feel that this is superior to the Proper and why I feel this might be superior to every single case knife that I've ever handled. I don't know what it is, but it just has that X factor. It gives you that feeling that it is just on a different level. Can't really explain it. Don't really care to either, to be honest. I just like the feeling that this gives me. And this brings to light a whole nother conversation when it comes to value. About how, yeah, it's not just about specs and it's not just about materials. You know, I remember when the Proper came out and I got my Proper, and again, people were bringing up, well, you should just get a GEC. You want a slip joint. Why waste your time with Benchmade? You know, and I said, well, Benchmade is making their slip joint in S30V, and, you know, it's got an adjustable pivot so you can actually maintain it. And I thought all these great things about it, and I still do, and don't get me wrong, the Proper is my knife. I love this knife. You know, that is not going to change in any way, shape, or form, but just in contrast, the way that I felt at the time, thinking, GEC isn't going to be able to touch this. It's 1095, which is a good carbon steel, but I prefer stainless generally. And, you know, thinking GEC isn't going to be able to touch this because it's a Benchmade and people don't know what they're talking about. Well, the fact is that this knife just does something. It does something for a lot of people, and I understand that feeling now. You know, from the moment that you unbox it and you get this little tube in your hands and you pop the top off and you can smell the oils that are used to maintain the handle and whatever they rub in the actual paper. I mean, just the whole package, it just harkens back to this nostalgic feeling. Reminds me of being in the garage with my dad doing whatever it was that like we were working on, whatever project we had to work on when I was a kid. There's a level of value that you get from a knife like this because of just all of the history that it implies and the tradition that is inlaid into the essence of that knife. And I know I'm getting philosophical here, but there really is a value there. and I didn't get it before, and I see it now, and I believe it, and I want one of these knives for myself. You know, I don't know that for a tool I would have any use for this knife over this. So let's be real and honest that when I'm talking about the value, you know, like it is not going to be a better cutting machine than so many other slip joints out there. But I think that the way that a knife makes you feel is definitely going to be an important aspect of how you value it. And even though, you know, the Proper certainly will cut everything just as well as most GECs, there is something that the GEC has that the Proper does not. So yeah, I really appreciate my buddy doing this and giving me this opportunity. He did send me a really cool knife in the trade, and we'll talk about that in a future video as well. But yeah, just this one. Yeah. It is a sweet one. So guys, let me know your thoughts. You know, let me know your thoughts about slip joints, because again, I'm no authority. I just have my very simple opinion that is based off of very limited experience. So let me know your thoughts. What do you think about GEC versus Benchmade? What do you think about slip joints in general? Do you have a favorite GEC model or a favorite brand that isn't either of these two? All right, let me know down below. We'll talk about it. We'll start the discussion. All right, and any other questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, as always, you know where to reach me, and I will talk with you soon, guys. Thank you. Have a good one.